Hey everyone, Lauren from A Girl and Her Wool here. I feel like I haven't done this in so long, so thanks so much for joining me here on YouTube. And yeah, I just feel like I haven't been on social media much recently. It has been, Advent season, so just working hard on getting all the Advents out. That's why I'm actually sitting over here instead of in my craft room. I am in the midst of packaging everything, and there's no possible way to film over there without spoiling the Advent. So I am filming over here, and yeah, so today I'm kind of starting a series on the festivals that I vended at and kind of my experience with it. I recorded this once before and it wasn't as a series. I just kind of recorded the full-on video, start to finish type of thing, and it was just too much, and I didn't like how it came out, so decided to break it up so that I can really kind of talk about the things I want to talk about without like dragging it on. So you'll see a few videos like this over the next few weeks or so, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this little vending festival series. So if you are new to the channel, hi, I am Lauren. I have a hand-dyed yarn shop called A Girl and Her Wool, and here on my channel I just kind of take you behind the scenes on that. I like to show everything I'm working on for my business so you guys really see everything that's going on. Of course, right now it's just a little quiet because I can't show Advents, but normally I like to just keep you up to date on what's going on in the shop. You can see me dyeing yarn, kind of see me deal with the issues that I go through with having a business, and then of course reflect on experiences such as vending at my first yarn festival. So I vended at New Jersey Sheep and Wool back, honestly everything was like about a month ago at this point. And then 2 weeks after that I vended at the Adirondack Wool and Arts Festival in New York. And I wanted to just kind of talk about those things. So I'll kind of talk about vending in general. Pi is here to say hello. I will be talking about kind of vending in general, as well as my experiences at those two places. I also have footage I will input probably in the next vlog. But yeah, so today I'm gonna focus on kind of before the festivals and the prep that went into it, kind of the issues I was thinking of, and all of the things that I kind of went through leading up to the festivals. And so yeah, let's get into it. So again, this was my first time vending at festivals, so that's gonna be kind of a common theme throughout all of this, is that I had no idea what I was doing, nothing of what to expect. I don't really know other yarn dyers in terms of like personally. So I don't really have people to reach out to ask questions about, and a lot of that's on me. I'm sure I could reach out to people and they'd probably be very nice about it, but kind of went into this really knowing nothing and just kind of winging it, and then also saying it's my first time and I can always do better in the future. So that was a really big theme going into it, was that I didn't know what to expect, and that can be hard for planners and someone like me who likes to know exactly what to expect, exactly what to do. I like to do things the right way. Not necessarily a wing it type of person. So so yeah, that was kind of hard. One of the big things that I kind of dealt with before the festival was inventory. So if you guys have been following me, you know that I used to be a dye to order shop, meaning that as orders came in, I dyed up their yarn, packaged it, and sent it. The only inventory I really had was my undyed yarn. I didn't stock anything, and that's, for the most part. Sometimes, if someone ordered a rose gold gradient set, I'd maybe just dye up a couple because it was such a popular thing or something like that, but for the most part, like even that was really rare. For the most part, I really did just dyed what they ordered, and that was that. So I had very, very minimal inventory going into the festivals. So a couple of months ago, right before the festivals, I decided to convert my shop into a mixture of ready to ship and dye to order. And that's how I run my shop today, meaning that I stock yarn ready to ship. Ships next day. There's plenty available in the shop. But I also now do custom listings so I stock 100 gram skeins and kind of some other random sizes, 50 gram skeins and now 150 gram skeins ready to ship. But if you want any other size skein, 20 grams up to like 300 grams, you can order through a custom order listing. So kind of really have found my happy medium with managing the shop that way, and I'm actually planning to do a reflection vlog on that soon. But what that meant was I really had minimal amount of yarn ready to go to the festival. So all of this long story being short is that I had a ton of yarn that I needed to dye up for the festivals specifically. This really would have been okay if I had been able to stick to my original plan of when everything was going to get dyed. But at the same time, so the festivals were in September. In late July, I found out that my role was changing at work and I needed to cross-train with someone all throughout August before they left, retired. And August became an extremely busy work month. I was working late, just trying to get caught up on everything. And I didn't get to dye yarn as I wanted to, because when you're tired and exhausted from work, the last thing you want to do at 5 o'clock is take out the dye pans and start dyeing yarn. Or I just didn't want to do it early in the morning. It just became, oh, I still have time type of thing. So I did have a vacation planned at the end of August where I planned to do all of like the end work, so that's where I was going to skein the yarns and put the ball bands on and do last minute shopping for whatever I needed to do and plan out my booth and pick up things that maybe I wanted to do and relax a little bit before everything. And that's not what happened because work again was just so busy. So I ended up dyeing up all of the yarn during that week that I had off from work, in addition to, getting it ball banded and skeined up, ball banded, and everything else that was on the list. So it was a crazy week and not one that I necessarily want to go through again. Quite honestly, it was too much, and I'm going to talk about that too because it's all about the good and the bad and the ugly. So yeah, I ended up getting the yarn dyed. Honestly, going into that week, I didn't know how much I would get done. I had no idea, and I honestly thought I was screwed and I wasn't gonna have yarn to bring with me and nothing would get done. And I was able to get quite a lot done. I was happy with the quantity I was able to dye up, and that part all worked out okay. Honestly, I was just dyeing yarn all day long. So much yarn got dyed up, and I have to say there are things that helped with that I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, it was just so much yarn, and honestly, the whole week I was like, I can't do this, because you have to keep in mind the context too, right? So I work a full-time job, and like I said, that month was really busy, so I was working late nights. And so to kind of go from the busy full-time job into this week off, and when I say a week off, it was like a Wednesday to a Wednesday, and so I worked straight through my weekend too, and then I went back to work on Thursday for the start of our busy season. So it was just a lot, and I just told myself, I can't do this. This isn't worth it. I don't like this. I'm never doing this again. And I'll talk about the future of festivals in future vlogs. But I really was not too happy at that time. Was not enjoying the process. But things that kind of helped me get through that week was little things. And I've talked about it before about having kind of those bottlenecks in your business and the things that are worth spending money on. So one is the spin dryer that I got after doing the Radvent kits last year. So if you guys remember, Amber O'Brien designed the Radvent throw, the one you can normally see in my background, last year using my rose gold gradient set. And similarly, I gave myself 5 days to dye up all of the kits for that, because again, couldn't take off from work. This time of year is just a busy season, and that was the amount of time that I had. And one thing that held me up that weekend was getting the yarn dry. Like, I just didn't have a place to hang up the yarn. The yarn wasn't drying fast enough, so I couldn't start skein it and putting ball bands on. And so after that, I bought a spin dryer. And in general, like, I've really enjoyed having that spin dryer. But during that week when I was dyeing up so much yarn, the poor thing, I was actually nervous at the end of the week it was dying, but it seems to have come back to life. Like, I just wore it out that week. So yeah, yarn was able to dry really quickly, which meant I could start ball banding and scanning it and getting it off my drying racks and just, you know, hanging it up on the grid walls and move on to the next type of thing. But yeah, towards the end of that week, I thought that thing was dead. It was like starting to like not spin as fast, or like it would kind of stop on its own instead of me turning it off. But now it seems to be back to normal. So it got exhausted. Yeah, so that was really good. And then the other thing, which is so silly, but I have like the zip ties that I use. And if you guys are ever looking for things that I use, I have a link down below to my FAQs page, and it's all on there. So you guys can check out all these things if you need dyeing supplies or you're curious what I'm using. But I have zip ties that I use for my skeins so that they don't get tangled up in the water while dyeing and rinsing and all that. And I had bought like a couple of packs of those, and I always run out. So when I have to do like dyeing day after day, I run out of the zip ties. So as yarn is like hanging up to dry, I'll take the zip ties off there and reuse them. And it's like such a stupid little thing because they're not that expensive to buy, but I just never have bought more. Like, I always just am like, no, I'm fine, I don't need it. No, I'm fine, I don't need it. And going into this week, I was like, no, I'm gonna need more zip ties. And I bought like a mega pack again. I'll have it linked below. And that thing was the best because I never ran out of zip ties. And like, it's just like the stupid little things like that, but that really helped too. But anyway, the other thing I just wanted to mention on, you know, kind of having to dye it all up beforehand and never being a dye to order shop, and also this being my first time, is I really had no clue how much to bring. And I talked about this like in a behind the scenes vlog then, but I really had no idea how much to bring. Like, was it better to bring more colors with less quantity, or higher quantities of less colors and that kind of thing? And so I struggled with that a little bit. Again, I learned things that I'll talk about later. Some things I'll keep to myself for, you know, personal research, but yeah, we'll kind of talk about that. But I kind of just did what I did and told myself, you know, this is a learning experience, and that is totally fine. The good thing about not having stock beforehand is that I feel like if I had stock, I would have wanted to bring it all with me. And in this way, I was able to dye up colors that went together. So it was really nice to really be consciously deciding which yarn I was bringing with me, instead of just kind of like bringing the random things that I had. So I dyed up a lot of the colors that I had on samples there, as well as colors that I knew I could pair together if people wanted me to pair colors together. And so that was really good. That was definitely the perk of starting from scratch, was really getting to like curate my festival lineup essentially. So I also just wanted to talk about the things that I did have for the festival. So of course I got grid walls. So I bought 3 grid walls, figuring that would be enough. 3 grid walls and a table. That was kind of like my setup. For the grid walls, I had quite an adventure with them. So I got the grid walls and off Amazon, and they come with like the stands, like these T-bars that screw in, and those are how they stand up. So when I got them, I got the stands and everything, but I only got screws for 1, right? So I got 1 set of screws instead of 3 sets of screws. And so, like you do, I just contacted the company and told them and said, you know, can you send me the 2 sets of screws that I'm missing, right? Like, easy peasy. Not a big deal. Not angry, not upset or anything. It was months before, so plenty of time and no big deal. So I get an email back that's like, sorry, we're out of screws. Well, you know, there's none that we can send you, basically. And then I'm like, so did they know that before they sent it to me? Because I would have rather just not taken them at all, type of thing. So anyway, so they didn't have screws. I tried pushing them back a little bit just to see if that was really the answer. And so I talked to my husband about it, and we ended up going to Lowe's to just try and, I was like, these are screws, like we can find them at Lowe's, like they're just screws, like me not knowing anything about anything. So we go and we buy like a few different things, because to my husband's point, the hardest part wasn't screws, right? Like we can buy screws, we have screws lying around, whatever. But the hardest part is they have like the footer on the bottom of the stand that actually like holds them up, right? So if you think about it, you know, like kind of those like round circles that would go below them to like actually have them stand on. They're not actually like leaning on the T-bar, they have like stands underneath. And he was like, that's what we're not gonna be able to find. So we go to Lowe's and even talk to people there, and they're like, yeah, you need to go to like a furniture store. Those aren't like screws, they're like, you know, the bottom of furniture. I'm like, oh. So there were a couple of things that I thought might work from Lowe's, and we got them. They didn't work. Honestly, they would have worked, but they just didn't quite fit in, and so that didn't work. So that was like a $5 adventure, other than like spending a lot of time there. Kind of tried to look on, so like kind of like the guy said, I tried to like look online for like furniture footers, and that was a good idea, and I did find things on Amazon that looked like they could work, but I ended up just buying more, because the thing was I couldn't buy, I didn't want to, first of all, I didn't want to buy more grid walls from the same company, because even though they showed in stock online, if they were out of screws, how are they still selling these things? That's what bothered me. Like, my guess is it was just packaged wrong, and they didn't want to like open up another package to like send them to me, because they were still listed in stock. And I'm like, I'm not buying more of these just to not get the screws. Like, I don't need more grid walls that I can't use. So I will say they did reimburse me, so I kind of had like free grid walls at this point. So if I had to buy more, it was okay, but I wanted to avoid that. I ended up going on like Uline or something, and they sold just the stands, just like the T-bars alone. So I ended up just buying a few of those, and quite honestly, I think I ended up buying extras, because I was like, well, if we lose one of these screws ever, we're never gonna find them again. So, and I also just figured it's not bad to have like extras of the stands. So I ended up buying a few extra, and they were like not that expensive. So it all worked out in the end. But if anyone noticed that I had black grid walls and silver T-stands, that is why no one noticed. My husband was like, well, we can spray paint them black. And I'm like, which is a good idea, and it looks nicer. But I guarantee no one noticed. And if they noticed, they probably did not care. So yeah, I had that. We had a folding table that we have in the garage, so I brought that, and then I of course had my sign that I got beforehand, my business logo. I had to get the hooks for the walls, of course, and other things that I had to buy beforehand. I bought like gift, you know, bags for people to take their purchases in. I had business cards, my thank you notes that you guys get when you order from me. I had to have that. The square things, I had to make sure I had samples. I brought, well, I had to bring like the yarn, of course, the craft journal sticker kits, and then I just had to bring like, you know, a screwdriver to put the things together. But the kind of things like that, like I kept it very simple. I did not invest very much money into the festivals. The biggest expense was the grid walls, and that got reimbursed to me. And so I didn't really have too many expenses that I spent beforehand. And again, we'll kind of talk about that in future videos, because there are definitely ways to make like a booth more welcoming and draw people in. Mine was not that. And so so yeah, I kept it very minimal. I did the 3 grid walls, and that was like perfect. I did like sock and DK and BFL sock on the 3 walls, and yeah, it really worked out well. I'm trying to like look over there, but I really didn't bring anything else. Anyway, that is it. So yeah, that's everything that I really had to bring with me. And again, I invested very minimally in doing these festivals, because I didn't know if it was going to be something I wanted to do going forward. Okay, so going on and on about my anxieties beforehand, and quite honestly, I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit. I was not mentally committed to going to the Adirondack Wool and Arts Festival. Again, I didn't know how much yarn I'd be able to dye up and how it would last through New Jersey. Again, I ended up dyeing up plenty, so that part worked out okay. My printer randomly prints pages, and my mom and I always have joked that it's the aliens trying to talk to us. Like, and we've had that joke for a long time, not this printer specifically, but like printers in general. When they do that, it's like aliens are trying to send you a message. Anyway, so you know, I was just nervous about it, and like, if I hated Vending at New Jersey, I don't have to go to Adirondack. I'll kind of talk about the two in another vlog, but there was also like the travel component with Adirondack going up to New York, and so there were just like a lot of anxieties leading into the festivals with never having done it before. I remember thinking, you know, to myself, am I gonna get there with all this yarn and then find out I forgot something so minuscule that I can't make a transaction, right? So like, I had, you know, the square things, but was my phone gonna die and I didn't have a power source? Was there not gonna be internet? Was there not gonna be internet? We'll come back to that one. Just like the legalities of everything, which like was a whole nother story. And I just really struggled with like, what am I forgetting that is not gonna make this happen, right? Like, we're gonna do all this work, we're gonna get there, we're gonna set up. And I remember just kind of fast forwarding again. Once the first transaction went through, I was like, I'm good, we're good, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. So anyway, a lot of the things, and it's good to be a worrywart in some ways because it makes you extra prepared, right? Like, all the things that I did, you know, kind of thinking about beforehand really prepared me for the moment, right? Like, I really try to plan ahead and just think of all the potential things that could go wrong, and then just try to have a plan for each of those situations. Again, like I said, before we went to the festivals, I was in full regret mode. I was ready to just throw in the towel and not go. Like, I remember saying, my online business is doing just fine. Let's just do that. But you'll kind of see in the next vlog where we went from there. I did end up going to both festivals, and so in the next vlog I'm going to talk about that, getting to both festivals. I'm going to talk a little bit about contrasting the two because there were differences between them. And so yeah, in the next vlog you'll hear about the experiences at the festivals, and then probably in the vlog after that we'll talk about the future of a girl and her wool at vending at shows. So I hope this was interesting to hear. I know that you know, it's fun to show the dyeing, it's fun to show the yarn, but again, I am running a business, and there's a lot of things that go into that, especially when you're one person, when you're new, and you've always kind of had the sitting at a computer corporate job and never really had to deal with these things. It's very different. My two jobs are very different from each other, and I work hard on both, and they both give me different things, and yeah, so again, a lot of anxieties leading into these festivals, a lot of prep work that I had to do, but yeah, it all seemed to work out okay, and in the end, you'll kind of hear this in the future vlogs, but happy I went, and it was just a ton of work leading up into it. Moral of the story. So that is it for today's vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, look out for the future vlogs where we'll actually head to the festivals, talk about them. I'll show you guys some of the footage from them, and I will see you guys again soon. The other thing I just wanted to mention is we have our next shop update with the November colors of the month. The big monthly shop updates are always the first Saturday of the month, and for the November shop update, it will be on Saturday, November 6th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I think I'm gonna end up doing a live stream that day. I didn't do that last month, so I think I will do that this month. And so just a reminder that if you are interested in any of the October colors of the month in any size skeins, those custom listings are going to come down on October 31st, and then there will be no custom listings until the shop update when it gets refreshed with the November colors. Also, there's a ton of yarn in stock, so feel free to go shop that now. And at this point, I will not be dyeing up the October colors anymore, so what's in stock is in stock. When they're gone, they're gone. And yeah, I will see you guys soon. So have a great week, and I will see you later. Bye.